What's up, Rockstars? Today I have a big news video for you. That's because there's several things that have launched. Some have exploded into million-dollar campaigns. There's stuff coming up I have not covered yet. And there's a few rants involved in this one as well, so strap in for that. Stay tuned for that. Definitely some critique on the industry I need to talk about a little bit. And but you know what? We'll get through this. We have some good updates at the end and even some Warhammer stuff involved. So if you're interested in all that, then let's go ahead and just jump right in. Now, as always, a huge shout out to my patrons and YouTube members. It is through their support that I'm able to bring much of the content that you see on this channel. That's because they fund my game purchases, not these game developers. In fact, they don't have any access to my banking and they cannot give me money so that I can give you my honest opinion on these guys and not take money from them. And so it's not my wallet speaking, it's me speaking. Trust me, that's much better for everybody involved. So if you appreciate that level of honesty and independence from the game development companies that I'm reporting on, then there is a link down below in the description for you. But if not, that's fine too. I totally get it. But trust me, a like and a comment, both of those combined do rock the AI world of YouTube, and they love that. And I love it just because I get to hear back from you. So like a real comment. I actually really appreciate those real comments. You guys are awesome down there. You know I'll be down there in the comments as well. So look forward to chatting with you there. Anyway, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to go ahead and just start with like, here's what's coming up. And then we'll go into here's what's available and then news. Okay. So starting out, Boogeyman the board game. This is kind of an interesting one because the last game I followed kind of like this was The Orphanage. And it kind of gives me similar vibes, but like also like Last Girl, maybe a little bit on that too. So this is by Antonio Fiara, which is actually just this Escape Studio games. Sometimes they start on like an actual person. What I wanted to show here is kind of a little bit about the game that I can tell. Now, there's not a whole lot, right? But they do show some of the art, which I think is actually quite good here. I think it's very fitting for the scenario here. This is a comic book series that's going to be following it, that you actually get through the campaign. It comes with the comic book, which is cool. Obviously, you get the, mean, babysitter, and then you're all the kind of young kids that have to deal with everything. Here's kind of the map. So I'm actually really impressed with the map. And one of the cool things here is there are some Easter eggs. Like this is obviously a DeLorean, right, from Back to the Future and stuff like that. So there's a few Easter eggs that you can kind of hunt and peck and look for in here, which I think is kind of cool. And it's a very pretty map as well. Now, what's all involved, how you're going through this, I'm not exactly sure. I don't know all of the details. I'm not sure anybody does yet, but it does look interesting. Another thing I wanted to show right here is actually this render here, because this looks to me to be what the miniatures are going to be. Obviously, and they're going to be a miniature format. Also, if you hear any grunting or growling or crinkling, that is Sawyer yawning. He's either sleeping or attacking anything he can get a hold of, or I don't know. He is what he is. So you might hear from him. He might join us later if he gets kind of rowdy. We'll see. Okay, all right. I think he's handled for now. Another one. They're making an Alien game. Alien: Fate of the Nostromo. This is going to be pretty big. This is also from Ravensburger, and I didn't know about this one. You guys were like, hey, why didn't you talk about it? Well, because I didn't know. That's why sometimes I rely on you guys. So thanks for pointing that out. And it's got minis. They actually look fairly well detailed. We'll see exactly how the detail level is on them, but I don't see anything in here that's crazy. I do see a repeated hand just about 3 times. That's pretty darn close, but at least they're changing the left one and this one. This left one's even pretty close too. But and even then, like actually the whole, bent knee pose leaning is pretty close as well. But you got a kneeling guy, which is actually kind of interesting. A lax guy, which I actually appreciate. Communication, that's good. Again, these two are fairly similar. It's a good pose, but I would like only one of them to have it, preferably. And you do have the xenomorph, the alien, actually being quite tall. This is pretty common where they stand really tall, and it is kind of cool to be tall there as well. Again, it'll be kind of interesting to see. And it actually sounds kind of cool. It's like a 13+ game, I think is what they said. And you're going to essentially be going around to collect scrap craft items and fulfill different objectives as you creep around the ship halls. And morale is adjusted every time you lose and gain encounters with the alien. And if it hits 0, then everybody loses. And so it's a cooperative game. I think that's pretty cool. I didn't see or hear anything about no hidden objective. Ripley's actually out to kill you. I backed Nemesis because I wanted an alien-themed board game, so I might actually jump into this and see if I enjoy this one more than I did Nemesis. That'd be great. If there's less randomization and more actual teamwork, I think that'd be awesome. He's being so loud. So loud. Also, anyway, yeah, we'll see how this is, but I will definitely be following this one, actually. All right, so now Sawyer has joined us. Hopefully he'll be a little bit quieter now, but we'll see. I wanted to tell you about Marvel United, the X-Men. It's actually coming to Kickstarter. They had announced this. I had covered this in an earlier video. If you didn't see that, you're probably not subscribed, so be sure to subscribe so you see all my news videos so you can stay up to date on all this. But we weren't sure if it was actually coming to Kickstarter or going straight to retail. Now, the last one went straight to retail and Kickstarter. Like, they sprung that one on you. It'll be interesting to see how they handle the retail version here. How the original one worked is essentially you paid a premium to get all the kind of the extra miniatures and stuff like that, because then it was at retail for like $15 and you had to spend $60+ to get the retail version. So really kind of interesting to see if this is another case. In other words, if you can get the core box X-Men at retail for $15 later, or you could spend extra plus the shipping. It costs a lot, obviously, these days, and the VAT and stuff like that. You might be paying a premium for those chibi minis. It's a gold mine for CMON, so I understand why they do that. It's an IP that people will back. It's a very light game, so just some minis and some cards, and you're pretty much done. And they're all like, the single cast chibi style miniatures. I'm trying to talk Sawyer. he might leave here soon. Okay. He's gone. He found the doorstop, and apparently that's fun. It's actually a really good deal for CMON. Like, they're making bank off this, obviously, for charging so much for a very cheap product. Not cheap as in, like, the quality. Unicast chibi should be pretty darn good quality. They did really great with Starcadia Quest minis, so I don't doubt that. I just meant, like, for them to make, like, as a game, like, especially when it comes to, like, art and stuff like that, it can get really expensive. But man, they're gonna. I don't know what they're gonna do next after X-Men, but I'm sure they're gonna try, because this is definitely gonna be popular for them. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised to see this style of game rebranded outside of Marvel, even. Maybe they can do Star Wars. Maybe they could do something else that's really popular. Who knows? I don't know. Kind of interesting. And I don't know how Spin Masters gets in there or any junk like that. I don't know. I just if you're really into Marvel, or you're really into the party game and you want to spend that much on a party game, or you're just in it for the minis or whatever it is, just know that you are paying for those stretch goals that are definitely costing you. It'll be much cheaper at retail. You're paying for kind of a collector's edition, and you just go in that way, and I think you should be good. Moving on from that, and at least now people know if they like Marvel United or not, and that's always a plus. Any Kickstarter that you can go in knowing, I like this game, I think is good. Or if you don't like this game, then don't go into it. Next up, we have Monster Invasion. This one is not doing well. It has been out for days now. For days. And it has 0 updates. And like when you go to the updates, like everything goes away. So I have to go back to Project. Freaking Gamefound. Only 6,000 raised out of 5,000. We've got 95 less than 100 backers for these 4 different games. Which means, and supposedly they're already pre-made, but they didn't ever say, I don't think, how many they made of each one. Like when Monolith did this with Claustrophobia 1643, they said we have 10,000 copies that we've pre-made. There's this many in this hub, this many in this hub, and this many in this hub. So you can take from those pools, and they are what they are. And I didn't really see anything like that here. So they say they're made, but are they just paying warehousing in China? How much of each do they have? Did they assume an even distribution? Like, when you're doing 4 different games versus 1 game, how do you know how many to make of each one? What if everybody wants Invasion of the Brood and 3 people pick Marry the Monster? You could do a huge loss. It's very dangerous to do that. Very dangerous. I don't know. This is an interesting one for sure. Yeah, I don't know. It seems just weird. Really weird. Let's see. Maybe they have it in the FAQ. Let me look. I have a question or issue. No. Okay, so they don't even really mention how many they have. That's just so odd. Maybe it's hidden in the video instead of in text. I don't know. I'm not going to watch it. anyway, it is available. So if you are interested, supposedly it's already made and it could ship out to you like by the spring. So like in just a little bit. Link down below to everything, I suppose. Yeah, in my opinion, I think Peterson Games is just moving too fast. They're talking about delivering an average of 2 games a year, I think, because there was a lot of comments about their kind of outstanding Kickstarters, but then they also do stuff directly to retail as well. And they're just pumping out games. Just pumping out games. And I don't know. That's maybe they are running too fast and they tripped over their own feet. I'm not sure here. Kind of interesting. This is really the first failure on Gamefound, and it didn't take long to get there either. My opinion on this. A lot of companies survive off of a casual crowd. And I don't mean that Peterson game backers are like casual, because I don't think they are. But their non-mini games perhaps are. And these don't really have that many miniatures. It's not like Cthulhu themed or anything like that. So these stinky monsters and all that. So that's part of it, is I don't think the casual crowd is on Gamefound at all. Right? I think there are some people that casually kind of back a Kickstarter that they hear. I'm going to show a Polygon article here soon. And there are some companies like Polygon, and every now and then you get an article that even covers a board game. Like there is a understanding that there are board games on Kickstarter, and every now and then people might be linked there somehow or some way. And I think there's a very casual market there. And I don't think that's on Gamefound at all, by the looks of it. I think it looks like, to me, so far, again, a very small pool set here, is you got to bring in a lot of oomph with you, right? Whether it's branding through something like Skyrim, whether it's just one of the biggest players in Kickstarter like Awakened Realms, whether it's a rebranding of a very popular game like Robinson Crusoe, which you can see advertised here. I think that's what it is. Another thing I noticed here is I went to Gamefound, it's gamefound.com, and I don't see this campaign. I actually have to wait until I still don't see it. I think it's like is it the third one? No, third, fourth, fifth one before I get it. Their banner up here is not showing their live campaign, the only live campaign that I'm aware of on their site. Instead, it's still showing you to follow this one over here. And I can hide let me hide that notification. Look at that. Now I don't even know how to get to that. In the Darkest Dungeon. So it's like after Cora Quest. I mean, there's just like, it's weird that, like, let's go to all projects. Maybe we can see it there. And see, it's not really differentiating live from, do they even have, crowdfunding. Here we go. So now I can find it. So now I could click on here. But even this project already funded, right? This project already funded. This is the only live one, and it's really hard to even find. But I guess there were 2 successful campaigns and one that looks really in a bad shape right now. And I'm so bothered that there's no updates. Do an update. I don't care if you're not making as much. I don't talk to you people. There are 95 people pledging money to you right now. Talk to them. Talk to people who are like me that are looking that aren't part of the 95. Show that you care. Yeah, they're in the comments answering questions and stuff like that. Though even then there was like there was. It's always weird here because see, it's like 310 and 311 and another 311 here, but it's edited, and then a 310 here. Like, does the date edited? Maybe that's why it's 311. Anyway, there's been like a comment today, so I mean, it just, Sandy, get off of the comments and make an update. Talk about your game. The other thing is, I think this is a confusing campaign. It's even kind of confusing to me. And if it's kind of confusing to me, it's probably confusing to other people. Anytime you're doing something weird, like launching 4 games at once that are completely almost different, or maybe not, and there's some oddity there with the pledge levels and whatnot, and it's pre-made and all that, you gotta do a really good job to explain that. You really do. And I'm not sure they have. If they have, it didn't count. Okay, next one. This is a weird one. This is not on Kickstarter as well. It's on Indiegogo. We're talking about Sanctorum. Now, Sanctorum is a game, again, I covered quite a while ago. It did moderate. It did, 734 backers, 60,000 there. From Gravita Games. I don't know. Anyway, they have a website here, and they're kind of talking about that. They're showing the standees that you're going to get here for many of the miniatures. Because you're getting like 21 miniatures, but then the rest are just standees. And now you can see all these miniatures here, and that's because they're talking about a second Kickstarter Okay? And the risks of the second Kickstarter is intended to raise the investment needed to create all the molds for the new miniatures. In other words, they want to make those standees into miniatures and improve the player experience with a mobile app. You guys and your mobile apps. If we didn't hit our funding goal, everything from the first Kickstarter is still on track, so you don't have to worry about anything. In a few months, you will be able to enjoy SANCTORVM in your homes. In the next update, we will show you the Kickstarter preview so you can follow it and help us spread the news. As always, remember that we're doing this to improve the project. Essentially, what they're wanting to do is launch a second Kickstarter before this one delivers and have that money raise essentially what they would have unlocked through stretch goals, which are these other miniatures that they were hoping to do. They were hoping to kind of transform into miniatures. And then that would actually go into the stuff they're making right now so that everybody would get that, including first time backers. So you guys would all get your miniatures. I dig the idea. I don't agree with it. So first of all, Kickstarter said no. So they're on Indiegogo. So Kickstarter said, no, you need to deliver what you are able to make. So they're going to be on, this Indiegogo here, right? So there's a pre-launch here. Here's the Indiegogo thing. You can see it doesn't tell you anything. I don't know what the funding goal is. I hope to God that the funding goal is high. And here's why. Because while they say there's no risk, and granted, there's probably maybe not risk for anybody on one, right? Though I imagine they still have to, lock in shipping and all that other kind of stuff. But I understand that's probably a thing. However, if they do something like these guys, right, where they're, pre-signing contracts or trying to make all these different SKUs, right? Let's say there's 4 here. Let's see, how many did they show? What were they showing here? Oh my gosh, I'm so lost. Hold on. Okay, here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 different boxes. So 5 SKUs, plus people can get the original as well. So at least 6 different items that can be purchased either in different combinations. Either I want this one and this one, or I want one of these and that's it, or whatever it might be. I don't know how they're going to do the tiers. Maybe it's all or nothing. I'm not sure. But you get in a scary place where what if only 3 people want that one? Like that was very, very much the least popular monster box and you offered it. So now you have to make that for the 3 people. Right? Like, hopefully it's an all or nothing. Hopefully it's like, you either get all the minis or you don't, in which case it's kind of weird to make them in separate boxes. So, and that's this kind of thing where I'm not sure exactly how much, business sense, and I'm not big on business sense. I'm just a guy, right? I'm not running no business here. And, that should be fairly obvious. But even then I know that, like, you don't want to be stuck making a little bit for a lot of people, right? That could get you in trouble, where the people that back this could then get in trouble. And so it's just a little, I don't know, a little worrisome is all, I guess. So, but that's going to be an Indiegogo. My opinion, they should deliver it with the standees. That's fine. And then ride that delivery hype to then unlock, maybe an extra expansion plus minis for the other one. That's what Madara did, right? Madara did the same thing. And you saw how popular Madara became, right? It wasn't a moderate success, but it wasn't something huge. But they delivered it with the standees and everything, right? Some miniatures, some standees. It's exactly what Madara did. And then after it delivered, they came out and said, hey, here's some more stuff for the game. Plus, we're going to get you all those miniatures that you were going to have otherwise. And it became huge. So it's always bothersome or worrisome when they're just trying to jump the gun, right? Just deliver your product, get that under your belt, and then people, if you made a good product, people are going to be super happy about it. They're going to tell all their friends. It's going to get good reviews. It's going to do all this stuff, and then you just go from there. I don't know. It just seems odd to me. I think they should wait. Personally, I just think it's safer, and I just think it's better for everybody involved. Better for them long term. I don't know about short term, but long term, I think it's better for them and better for the backers. But nobody asked me, so it's going to be on Indiegogo. Good luck. Stellaris Infinite Legacy. Here is another rant for you. Now, this is already broken 1 million. It just launched. It's 7,400 backers. Everybody's backing it. And you want to know why? Because this word right here, the Stellaris. People love IP. So if we're going to go to Academy Games, and they've made 10 Kickstarters, and they've made some good ones, right? 413, 1,500, 1,500, 1,500, 5,424. Oh, there we go. 6,937. That's a great one. 4,000, and then that's really it. So they do have a almost 7,000 a while back. They do have a a 4,000 one here, and a 5,000. So they've had a few fairly big ones, right? But not to this extent where day one they've already broken the record, right? This is obviously because IP, right? I mean, that's why Marvel. Can you imagine if Marvel United was just like some weird dinky IP that they made that didn't have any superhero branding on it, or their own custom superhero branding on it? Like, Marvel sells, right? People know Spider-Man. People want Spider-Mans. People want Spawn. People want all this stuff. Yeah. Anyway, the Stellaris is selling this. My issue with this is it reminds me a lot of Unsettled, and not in a good way. So. The Never Rain. I'm sorry, the Ever Rain. In that, I'm going to show you the game details that they have available. You ready? Right here. You have now seen everything you know about the game. What's up with that? Also, 0 updates. 1 update. It just didn't update, apparently. That shows 0 there. Okay, so they did do an update at least, so that's good. But seriously, it really bothers me. It really bothers me that you can fund over $1 million because of your IP, really. And then, of course, there's, I think, some trust in the Academy making a good game, but it's not like they've... It sucks when you put trust in a company that can't be bothered with you. Or doesn't find you worth it. And they don't find you worth it. If they found you worth it, they'd explain the darn game. At least like an actual game mechanic, and not this high-level marketing fluff. Like, you'll fight enemies. Okay, well, I fight enemies in Small World and I fight enemies in Conan, but those are very different game mechanics. How does it play, right? You'll explore new things. You'll do all this 4X stuff. Okay, how? You'll do a variable tech tree. How is it variable? How do I do tech trees? Am I updating it once a game? Am I like there are no actual gameplay mechanics here. Don't even mention the rules. If you're not even gonna rules start simple, where are the rules? Where are those simple rules? I don't know where they are. It really bothers me. Really does. When a company, like, if this was a new, if this was not Academy Games, right? If this was just some new person, they would be flogged in the streets. The comments would be a travesty, right? As they just got hit on, like attacked because they didn't even come with the game. They just came with some images and some words and just said, hey, now pay me money, right? But because they've delivered games in the past, they can go and not even try and just say, here's some images, here's some wording, high-level fluff, here's an IP you like, go for it. Additionally, if this was not Stellaris, if this was... Going back to this, if this was Reality Shift, right? Their own custom thing or whatever, right? Or if this was, not even Agents of Mayhem, the two-door or whatever, right? Like, this would not be doing over $1 million on day one. Again, people are backing because they like Stellaris. They're doing it because Academy Games has made some good games that were well-received before, but they didn't earn it in that sense. At least not in this page here, especially for new people. Like, this little bit of game is not enough. It's not enough. How does this play? I don't know. You need to tell me how your game plays, or is there a game? Now, the Ever Rain, I yelled at the Ever Rain a long time ago, and I got a little bit of flack for it sometimes. I even got in an argument with the maker of it because I called him lazy. But he was lazy. Hey, quiet. He was being lazy. This is lazy. Make a game and then come. Don't say, pay me money, I'll make a game eventually. No, that's lazy. Make a game. And then sell us a game. Don't sell us a concept for the future. Don't put almost no effort into anything but your graphic artist to come up with some pictures so you can sell it. And then they do this manipulative thing too. This really irks me. Okay, if you want the game, you can spend $110 and get nothing but the game. No stretch goals, no nothing. You get the game. You have to spend $60 more to get any stretch goals at all. That $60 gets you whatever stretch goals they have. And you want to know what their stretch goals are? I'll show you their stretch goals. I'll show you. Don't worry, I'll get there. Their stretch goals are some cards. You get some cards. I hope you enjoyed your $60. You get a couple cards. And not only that, but look, it like jumps, right? 65 and 500,000, right? Because they didn't actually have that many stretch goals even planned. Because I would imagine you need in fact, this is more gameplay more game than I've seen anywhere else, because I can actually kind of read that card and maybe see what you might be doing. What phases are there? There's nothing. There's no information here at all. It's dumb. Do I draw cards at the beginning of my turn? Do I use them all each time while I see all the cards through one playthrough? It's so bad. It's so bad. So anyway, $60. Okay, so you get that. What else do you get? You get the 5th and 6th player expansion. Now I'm assuming, hold on. They had the picture of the game here. I'm assuming it adds 2 of these trays, 2 of those trays, 2 of these, and then another copy of these. And mind you, all of the races have the exact same miniatures. They're the exact same thing, just in different colors. So it's super cheap for them to do. I mean, like, pennies to make those miniatures, because the sculpt's already there. They just change the plastic color, the dye inside. It's even the same plastic, right? Like, it's pathetically cheap to make that, right? Same with it. Like, if they've made this mold, guess what? It's cheap to make that again. It's not expensive to print. Like, that's what the joy of this plastic stuff with injection molding and all that is. You can do it at scale. That's the whole point, right? If you can make one, you can make 1,000,000. It costs as much as whatever plastic it was. It's just crazy that you're spending $60 for that. Now, technically, they're giving this away and they're saying it's $8. So you're paying $52 for some copies of the miniatures. And even then, now, look, you have to add this now. So actually, after you spend $170. This is First Descent charges $175, but at least there you're paying for the video game development. That's expensive. Software engineers are expensive, right? And then they have to continuously update it and bug fix and patch and all this stuff. It's expensive to make apps. But what are you doing that makes this $60 more than, all these other games that I cover? I just don't. It's frustrating that it's such a bad deal. It's frustrating that it's so lazily done. It's frustrating that it's by a company that can't be bothered to even try, that just barely does one update and just throws this on there, grabs some IP, and then makes over $1 million. When there are companies out there that are working so hard to make a board game and to get you a good deal and deliver a good product. And it's so hard to make sure that you know how awesome of a game they make, because they made a game. If you make a game, show it. If you don't show it, I'm assuming you have nothing to show. I can only assume that Stellaris is just a bunch of images and nothing, and that they'll make it after they cash their check from us. And that's some BS, and it makes me so angry to see. I'm not, if you're one of the 7,431, I'm not yelling at you. You can spend your money to buy rocks. I don't care. In fact, you can buy rocks for like landscaping and stuff. But like, you do whatever you want. I'm just speaking for me, okay? I'm not judging backers. I'm judging the company. Okay, it bothers me that conceptually a company can be lazy, not have anything for actual sale, use some branding to swindle what I feel is backers out of money. Like, I feel like you guys deserve a game, not a campaign, which is what they made. They made a campaign. Make a game, not a campaign. Make a game, sell it through the campaign. That's fine, but make a game. Make a game and show it. Oh, there's a rant for you. Okay, Tiny Epic Dungeons. Tiny Epic Dungeons is doing quite well as well. However, they actually have, more game here. Imagine that. What a concept. They're showing all this. Okay, so I will talk about the controversy here a little bit too. But look at that. You actually get to see multiple things and gifts where they're showing you. What is this, a mechanic? Am I seeing a game mechanic here? No, don't show me that. Just say you'll explore a modular dungeon every time and don't show me anything. Just make it all marketing fluff. Use my imagination and pretend there's mechanics. Don't tell me how many acts there are. Just say you'll multi-act and then I'll find out later that it's only 2. Right? Keep me guessing. Be sure to ask for my money while I'm guessing. You'll fight against epic bosses, but don't show me how many. Be sure not to show me. Oh, a deluxe. Is this $170? No, it's not. It's not. Okay, so I'm teasing. I'm doing a lot of unfair teasing here. Okay, all right. So controversy. Controversy was. Hey, quiet. Okay, he's gone again. He's not being watched by somebody else. We're free to talk. Okay. she wasn't wearing pants and she wasn't wearing a shirt. That's pretty much it. So let's actually look a little bit closer here. I think they're zoomed in a little bit here. Okay, so she's in this. I believe they call it the butt boobs pose because you get both. I guess that's a thing. I'm learning all sorts of things. So thanks for teaching me. Anyway, she did not have this legging on, so you could actually see. And actually, I think it changed poses. Anyway, you could see her like the bottom of her butt there. And then on this character, she wasn't wearing a shirt, and so this jacket essentially just showed a lot of cleavage. And that's pretty much what the fuss was about. I guess it's kind of weird because, like, I just showed Sanctorum. Sanctorum had fully nude people, both male and female. And that's fine, but then I guess Tiny Epic Dungeons showing some cleavage. I don't know. It's just weird. Like, I'm all for, being respectful. I didn't notice either, by the way. like I had to be shown, especially her. Like I had it side by side. I'm like, I can't see the difference, and I finally did. But I guess somebody was sensitive and didn't like the art. In my opinion, creators should create what they want to create, and not be withheld. My opinion here, not be withheld by anybody else. If you don't like it because of that, that's fine, don't back it. But I think one of the best things about Kickstarter, and I'm not saying this is right for Gamelin or this is right for, the Tiny Epic Dungeons, and I'm fine with you complaining about it too, but I don't think it should necessarily drive change unless they want it to. And I don't think it should definitely be demanded. And what I mean by that is, like, I backed Hate. Hate, I gave my game of the year. It's a fantastic game, and I love the theme, and I bought the graphic novel, and I loved that, and I'm an adult. And the only thing people would comment about is the theme and how terrible it was, because it involved rape, and it involved all this other extreme violence, and blood, and killing, and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, yeah, it's awesome! Anyway, the blood and killing part. But do you get what I'm saying? Like in the age of Game of Thrones, in the age of, like as an adult, I should be able to pick and choose what I want. And I think creators should be able to create what they want. And I think Kickstarter in particular, the reason Hate was Kickstarter only was because it wouldn't sell very well at retail, because it's a very violent game. It's a mature game for mature adult people who choose to partake. And I'm fine with that. And I also am fine with creators creating whatever they want for the audience that wants to consume it, whether I agree with it or not. I would never back Sanctum. Or Sanctorum, or however it has a V in there. I'm not, that's not my thing. I'm not that into that kind of stuff, right? It's not my style. But it is a lot of people's style. At least, 748 people's style, or however many it's sold, I forget. And that's great. It's fantastic that something, risque and out there and edgy and, pushing the envelope in certain directions or whatever, for people who want it can have it. And I think that's awesome. So I think it's fine to critique stuff. It's not fine to then say you should change this or not. And I don't know how many people were necessarily doing that or not. But that's my 2 cents. And I would, I guess, caution a little bit, unless you are somebody who covers the industry and it's kind of like me. And I don't mean this this can come across weird. I don't mean this in a pompous way at all, because trust me, I'm fairly humble here. I just mean, like, If you're just a person and you see something like, that's dumb, it's okay to move on, and let the people who are happy with it, 31,000 people, there was slightly less there, but be happy with it. On the other hand, Kickstarter does allow us to, voice suggestions and updates and stuff like that. So it's a weird thing. There's pros and cons to each side, right? I get my opinion normally, outside of what I cover on Kickstarter, I tend to see stuff and be like, yep, not for me, and then move on. But, some people are like, that's not for me, let me tell you why. But if you're invested or whatever, I am cautious about, I don't want to use the word censorship, because I don't think that's quite applicable here. I want to invest in creators, and I want creators to be totally free on Kickstarter to do whatever the heck they want. And I think it's amazingly freeing to not have to listen to some checklist, board of directors at Hasbro or, Mattel or some other company that's like, oh, you want to publish the game? Well, it needs to appeal to kids. It needs to have a solo mode. It needs to do this. It needs to do that. Like, it needs to be family friendly. It needs to, no, just make whatever the heck you want. That's what's cool about it. So that had almost nothing to do with this particular case and more just a broad statement on that. And again, very complex. I could talk about it a whole lot. Don't hold what I didn't say against me, or maybe what I... be nice. Moving on. Super Fantasy Brawl Round 2. I am a backer here. You can see that right there. Again, that is patron money right there. Thanks to my patrons for allowing me to cover this game. That's how that works, guys. That's how that works. Yeah, this is actually, I think, doing fairly well for the type of campaign it is, which is, here's a few more minis for something we already launched. And there's no stretch goals or anything like that, or even a lot of like Kickstarter, so there's like foil cards and that's it. So the fact that it's still hitting that with 5,000 backers, I think is quite good. Let me actually compare that to the original. Let's see how many are returned, because I think that's always a good metric to look at, right? And it's not necessarily pro or con, because some people can just be so totally satisfied with their game and not need it anymore, right? So like, you can't just blanket read data like that and assume there's no interesting concepts there. But let's see, 7,453 backers during the Kickstarter, and this one is at 5,000. I think that's a pretty good thing. Now, I don't know how many are necessarily returned versus not. So let's see, round 2 pledge, which is 3,096. The fan pledge is just the $1. Okay, which one is just, okay, here's the core box. We have 353. So the majority of people, and then we have an all-in, which also does the core box of 946. So still, the vast majority of backers here are return backers. I think that's always interesting to see. Anytime people have now received their game, played it, and say, you know what, here's some more money, I want more. I think that's pretty good. I think this is a good expansion as well. Super Fantasy Brawl is a little bit lighter in the army building kind of sense. It allows them to balance it quite well, but essentially a unit, a person on your team plays the exact same, whether you use it or they use it. Or, I mean, you can do the order different, but, you know, if they heal, they heal. There's not like you can spec into this way, or you can equip them with this, or you can have this buff from pre-game selection. And it's not really an army builder in that sense. It's a team builder, but not a lot of customization beyond just who you pick. Who you pick, like that person, they act that way. And so with that, that means that the way to add nuance, more complexity, more replayability is by adding those options, right? And so that's really what this does. So if you do have it, adding 9 more heroes would change things up a lot more opportunities to try different teams up and you know, pick new fighters, or, you know, maybe an all healing team or something like that. You can do some different things. And I think that's actually really cool. But I think, yeah, that's the gameplay right there, right? That's the gameplay added is by doing that, not necessarily by even changing the map or something like that. I think this does it more. Next up, Death Goddess. Izanami is doing great. As you can see here is the final miniature. My goodness, it is very detailed. It is quite big. There's a lot going on there. You can see just like, you know, it's the real deal. Like, that's how miniatures work. But I mean, just the creases in there and everything, I think it's really, really well done. Really impressed there. So yeah, that's going to be coming. Oh, I get the STL file soon. That's exciting too. I paid for that. Again, patron money. Thank you so much for that. Okay, hey, look, there's me. This is for Stormsunder. So Stormsunder, I showed off some masters, and in fact, I don't know if any other YouTubers ever showed off masters before. So if you haven't, a master, I realized I called them masters, but I didn't explain it in the video. I just assumed everybody knew. A master is what you actually use to make the mold, like they are the master mold, right? And then you actually do the production plastic inside that. Now, considering I had already seen some plastic miniatures from them from before, I was like, well, you know what? You could just compare to these and actually see, like, hey, there's not a lot of detail drop here. Plus, I already know they're using an ABS PVC mix, and those are always hold up quite well. I know the company they're using to manufacture. I don't know if they are saying that out loud, so I'm not saying it out loud, but it's going to be great. It's going to be really good. So seeing these masters, I'm like, yeah, this is going to be like some of the best detail ever. Fun fact, my patrons know this, at least the ones that are in Discord, because I talk about this often, or when people ask me. There are a couple of games I look at when comparing other miniatures to. So I compare miniatures based off of detail level and sculpt design. Both are important. You can't have a top tier miniature without both present, but you can have a great miniature with only one. As long as, like, you know, again, sculpt design isn't bare bones, like this just standing there in T-pose, right? Or the detail isn't just bare bones to where you can't even make out what it is trying to do. You need to have enough detail to show what you're trying to do, and you need to have a cool idea, right, through the sculpt design. I want to talk about like the XY plane being the only thing, right? So like CMON minis and mini miniatures are like this. It just limits your canvas, right? Because suddenly you can't do these multi-piece things and stuff like that. Like Awakened Realms has somebody dropping, in from holding a plant, from a rope, kind of like you can't do crazy stuff like that, right? So it limits your canvas. You can do some pretty cool things in that canvas, but your canvas is limited. Hate was my detail level one. In other words, it was like, okay, here is a board game, not a, a tabletop skirmish game like Games Workshop kind of stuff, right? This is a board game, a skirmish type board game that has fantastically detailed miniatures and a lot of them and all these different sculpts and stuff like that. So that was my detail level one that I always would compare to. And the sculpt design always went to Limbo Eternal War, which has the best sculpt design I've ever seen in any board game, hands down, bar none. That beats it all, at least so far. I'd love to have that challenged, but it's great. So those are the two. Stormsunder, from what I can tell, is going to replace Hate. To where I will be looking at Stormsunder minis, and then when I see another Kickstarter, or I see a prototype, or I see some miniatures sent to me, or on display on Kickstarter, or anything like that, I'll be thinking, does it have the same detail as Stormsunder? If not, how much lesser of it is that, right? If that's possible, if they could do that, and they're not, well, what are they doing? What are they giving me, right? And then, of course, I don't see Limbo Eternal War losing that spot of sculpt design anytime soon. They did a great job there. Anyway, that's that. I do show that off, and they are great. Trust me, they are fantastic. I also have Wild Ascent. You'll be seeing my unboxing soon. It took longer for me to get. It got lost in I assume the postman played it a few times and then sent it to me, because it took a long time to get to me. So I got it after Alex, even though I think we were sent it at the same time. Alex has already done a review. He said it's great. I've started reading the rule book. I'm not in love with the rule book, but I don't think I've ever really been in love with a rulebook. Here are some more masters, by the way. You can kind of see what I was showing off. These are just different ones here, and they are, again, fantastic. And they keep iterating on this, and they're just, look at that. They're great. They are just fantastic. Really, really good stuff. Like, really, really good stuff. This is better than the resin stuff I got in my box, for sure. Another thing I look at, so when I'm looking at miniatures, I'll point this out, and then I'll move on. This is the last part here. There are some key things I look at in miniature. I look at chains. You guys know this, right? Hands and feet, right? Those are difficult to do, especially because they're human anatomy, which is, they're hard to draw too. It's hard to make them look right, and it's fine detail, right? Like you see the chains there, right? So I do that. Chains. I check to see if it has a sculpted base, and oftentimes I will look inside of a mouth that's open to see if it's sculpted. So I've seen the inside of his. This is a poorer photo than what I got, because they were like showing me, but it's all sculpted inside the mouth as well. A lot of times they'll have open mouth and it's like flat or smooth. Also check like underneath the little loin cloths and stuff like that too, to see how flat it is there, because it's always a good thing to check to see kind of quality. Moving on. Sea of Legends. If you wanted to know what an app can do for your board game, it can make it a paperweight. So Sea of Legends, the physical components, so in other words, half the game, is on its way to being delivered. It's being produced and all that. However, that looks like they're going to delay the app, and the app is required to play. So when you get Sea of Legends, you're going to get to do nothing with it. You just, I guess, put it on your shelf and pretend you could play the board game you just bought until the video game comes out. This is, I talked about, and I get that, I got a lot of flack for saying the negatives of apps, but there are negatives. I'm not saying there's not positives. There are positives. I have yet to see an app do something you can't do analog. So there hasn't been a killer feature there, right? I mean, unless you count like voices, right? Well, okay, well, yeah, obviously. Actually, even then you could, I remember I had these little books where you'd press the button and it would, say the thing. Anyway, but it's still a physical thing. All electronic and pre-recorded. I'm not asking for that, but there's not this actual game mechanic that it does differently, right? Like I was talking about Descent, and I was like, it remembers your actions. I was like, well, so does Stormsunder and Tainted Grail and Alien Trespass Odyssey and all these other games remember yourself. Even Bard Song does, right? You slot in the cards to oh, you let the guy live, well, slot in these cards and maybe that'll come back up later. It remembers. Oh, you let those person mark C1. Okay, mark C1. Did you mark C1? Read this passage instead. Like that's all the app's doing. Like it's not doing anything unique there. yet. Okay, so and maybe it helps with some efficiency, and I think that's great too. I'm all for an optional app, but there are negatives involved in apps. There are negatives involved in video games. I have had save files deleted. I have had glitches. Bloodborne. If Bloodborne had been an app-driven game, it would have been a wasted purchase for me. I would have lost $300. More than $300. And that's because my fix to enjoy Bloodborne the way I like it is to continue playing turns after the game would have told me you can't. There's no way to do that in an app, right? The app would say, hey, your turns are over. You lost. And I'm like, well, no, I still want to keep playing, right? Or the whole, hey, reset all the way, right? Even Tom Vassell, when he reviewed it, said, I'm just going to replay the chapter. If it was app driven, it would be like, nope, you're replaying, right? You don't get to, like, they're not going to code all these, any kind of house rule you can do, because I talked in the comments of Bloodborne, well, I like to go to where it's a sudden death, where I get to use the hero's dream, hunter's dream all the time, but at the end of the timer, I can no longer go to the hunter's dream. And that's hard to enforce in an app. And maybe, there's other circumstances where you could do that or you couldn't. It just, apps are lock you in and you play exactly how they want you to play, and that is it. And if it's required, then it doesn't matter if you put 200,000 words of nothing. It's useless if you can't play the darn thing. I hope that they release a beta with bugs. At least then you can play until it bugs out. That's really, really sucks that people are going to get a giant freaking paperweight because they can't play the game because the video game portion of it isn't completed. That really sucks. And then they have the audacity to say, hey, by the way, we're delivering something you can't, but by the way, it's not delivery until you get the app. That's part of the game. Okay? So don't say we've delivered it because you shipped physical components to it. That's not how that works. Part of your game is the app and you got to deliver that. But then they still have the audacity to like, hey, buy our next thing. It's like, how about, hey, we're going to be delivering a paperweight to you. I hope you enjoy these hundreds of dollars full of stuff you can't use yet. By the way, would you like to give us some more money? It's like, what the heck? I think that's a little cool. But this is, we're like right after each other too. It's just really funny. That sucks for all 4,700 of you. I seriously sympathize with you. That's definitely not what you want to do. I do not sympathize with the company here because it's all their fault. Vampire the Masquerade. Like I said, they're on Polygon. Look at here. This is interesting. This is big news. And another good talking point. I got plenty. I hope you guys enjoy hearing me. This box is bigger than Gloomhaven. It's a lot. It's a lot. I'm actually going to search for Gloomhaven here because, okay. 25 pounds, and the entire box is twice the size of Gloomhaven. Now, first of all, I think that's dumb. I think you should put it into multiple boxes. We're not trying to break Guinness Book of World Records. We're trying to make a board game that's usable and fun for everybody, that has good setup time and good breakdown time and good storage solutions for consumers. So, like almost kind of, like, I think that's a good option. My Deep Madness is like that. It's in these kind of big boxes there, but, I don't know if that's a good default. I don't know. That seems like I don't know if people want to bring out 25 pounds every time they play. Like, maybe compartmentalize that. So, hey, I'm just playing this chapter or something. I don't know. It just seems like a lot. I'm not sure I don't know if I want the workout to bring the game out to set up. It's a lot. It's a lot. One thing I just think is very important to note, and just, I'm just putting this out here, okay? But, they have done 2 games prior, both of them dinky, and I don't mean anything mean to them. It's just dinky as in it wasn't some huge success like this was, right? But again, IP speaks, IP sells. Vampire the Masquerade, bam, now they've had a huge campaign, right? It's just like Stellaris, right? It's just like Marvel United. It's like, hey, this wouldn't be doing what it did without the IP, but that IP just brings in the money. And I get that. And I like IP too. But it's a fact of life, right? I'm just not going to beat around the bush about it. This was big because of the IP as well as, gameplay and stuff like that. But it is a lot to deal with an IP rights holder. It is a lot. And go ask the people at Jasco how that goes with people like Capcom or Konami or something like that, right? We heard some rumors about how hard Konami was to deal with. And so, I think sometimes they're easier to deal with than others, but an IP thing is an IP thing, and suddenly you have to do all these hoops and stuff like that. And then when I see kind of either very indie or first time developers making an IP game and it becoming huge, You get the growing pains of being huge suddenly, which is already hard. You get the growing pains of having to deal with the IP as well, and those just kind of confound on each other, right? It's just more to do. If they can pull it off, it'll be amazing. I'm definitely going to be watching it, and I hope they can. But I know to this day, the Conan core box, because again, Monolith just walks on, hey, Conan, bam, it's huge. Look at that. We're like the number 4, like, Kickstarter ever kind of thing. IP, it helps. And there are still components in that box you don't use. What are they there for? I think they had an idea at some point, but it's like they were just throwing in stretch goals and trying to like figure out what to do, and then didn't have time to, it was delayed even then, and so they had to like spin off Mythic Games and do that thing to do Mythic Battles Pantheon and then come back in afterwards. And I mean, like it was kind of a mess. Right? And then there's the horror stories, right? Like the Sonic Racers game or whatever that was never even delivered, right? Some IP game, some new company, they ran over their heads, they got some money, it all went away, and then they went out, right? I mean, and then nobody got their game. So, like, I think they're going to do great. Based off what I can tell, based off the professionalism that I see on it, it's just always something to keep in mind, right? Just keep that in mind when you go. And I said this during the campaign. Back it, that's fine. Hopefully it's great. Keep in mind what's going on though, right? Just be aware that this is not just like, oh, CMON's making another game and they've made like 1 million and they've delivered 1 million and they've all been, at least well put together for the most part. This is new territory for them. And so you might get some bumps, you might get some oddities, might get some quirks, might get some weirdness. Just how those things work. Either way, that's big. 25 pounds. Whew. Okay, next up, and the last thing actually for you is a video playing. I don't know why it started to play. Sometimes YouTube just like, I'm going to play the video, even though I had it loaded up. Astartes, I hope I'm saying that right, was a huge millions and millions and millions of views. He almost got 1 million subscribers off this. It was like a CGI movie for YouTube, or for Warhammer 40k from a fan. And it's always kind of weird to do kind of fan stuff like that, just because obviously you don't own the rights to it. Well, he announced that he is now working with Games Workshop. He's now hired from them and doing their stuff underneath the Warhammer Animations thing. And what did that do? Well, that meant that he deleted all of his videos, right? Well, Warhammer Games Workshop said to delete all your videos. So all of those comments, all of those millions of views are gone. And instead, upload it to the Warhammer community, and also change all the sounds to stuff that we own, so we don't have to pay rights or do any oddities like that, because we're an actual company, not a fan thing. And so and put it, gosh, that's loud, and put it on a player that blasted on max by default. But either way, it's not YouTube, right? This is not YouTube, and any player that's not YouTube is terrible, as far as I'm concerned. So it sucks. And the reason it sucks is because when I see something like Warhammer community and I don't see a comment field, I'm wondering where the community is. And also, who is going to warhammercommunity.com that's not already into this? One of the great things, this is why companies are so stupid. Companies are dumb. They almost always are. Rarely are companies smart. They're almost always dumb, and it amazes me every single day that somehow they make money in spite of themselves. Games Workshop included, especially. You had free advertisement here, right? In fact, there were a lot of people that, in fact, I saw somebody post a GIF from this Astartes. And that actually got me looking into Warhammer again, and now I've spent hundreds of dollars on that Games Workshop stuff. Fan-created stuff is just advertisement. It can get you new people. The community, the comments underneath, right? Like, I will be in the comments of this video because I care about our community, because I love being a part of this community, and I love the discussion around the community. When you put it on a proprietary site that only already fans are going to do, and then they can't even interact with any of this, it just is stupid. It's dumb, and it sucks. If you wanted to change that, I can understand as a company not wanting to use things that might not be legal for you to be using. I get that. I do. I like it. Yeah, it sucks, but I also don't want a company like using things they don't have the rights to. Pay the rights to stuff. No, seriously, art is very much stolen all the time, right? People steal movies and music and all this other, and art, right? That real artists make. And so, Pay artists. They're always kind of get the sucky end of the stick. So I get that. But then re-upload them to YouTube on here where everybody already is, where you already have an established community of 900 freaking thousand subscribers and millions of people that still watch it even in spite of that. It amazes me that they would kill that to put it on. I'd never even been to this website, and I now bought Warhammer stuff. I'd never know about this. And trust me, this doesn't make me want to keep coming, because what am I going to do? I'm going to watch this and just leave. Right? Like there's no suggested videos where it's going to suggest, hey, here's how to build a Space Marine thing. Are you getting into Warhammer? Here's this. Here's how to paint one, right? None of that's going to come here. All that AI that would give you that plethora of community is gone. All right? At the end of the video, wait. Let's actually see what you get in this proprietary piece of crap. I hate proprietary videos. Great. Oh, look, I can share it on Facebook or Twitter. Well, hot dog. That just keeps me going. So yeah, and then exit out and just sits there. It sucks. It really does suck to see that happen. That's all I had though, guys. I don't really have anything else to say about that. It's company doing something stupid. And the death of kind of a community. And of some free advertisement on their part. But, it is what it is. That's all I had for you. I hope you have a great rest of your weekend, and I hope I helped you in some way, either through an interesting discussion. Maybe you have a counterpoint, maybe you disagree, maybe you agree. I would love to discuss that with you, of course, in the comments. You guys know I'm all about figuring out what the truth is and going towards it, whether I'm right or wrong. It doesn't even matter. I just enjoy the pursuit of it, right? Or just hearing other people's opinions and stuff too. It's really cool. And of course, just saying hi to you guys, or hearing that this video was helpful in some way or anything like that. I do totally enjoy it, and I'll be doing that all throughout the weekend. I will be having that Wild Ascent unboxing soon as well, and then of course a review. I will also be having a review for Chronicles of Drunagar, so I'll be having that. Plus, I'm getting some more stuff. I'm actually going to be playing my first Warhammer game on the weekend here. Wish me luck. Hopefully my Necrons won't be obliterated too quickly. And I'll let you know what I think about that too. So a ton going on. There's more news coming up, especially in April, about stuff I can talk about. I'll be getting Ragnarok. I'll be showing you Myth of Battles Ragnarok. There's a ton here. So if you have not subscribed, which is like almost half of you, seriously, subscribe, bell icon. That's all you got to do, and you'll be notified, hopefully, when I talk about those things. So either way, I'll catch you guys next time.